down that camera and strap in. It's time for a new episode of TogChat Live. Get ready for 60 minutes of wall-to-wall photography, including photo news, tips, and your photography questions in real time, with answers from your host, Olympus visionary Joe Edelman.
Hey gang, thanks for joining me for another live episode of TogChat. Now before we get going, I need all of you, please take a moment, tell your photography friends that we are streaming live on YouTube right now. Twitter, Facebook, they are the fastest way to get the word out. You can of course click that share button that's right underneath the video, or of course you can share the link tog.chat/live. I'm going to go ahead and put that in the chat window for you right now. So please let your friends know that we're here. Let them know that we're streaming. Share the wealth, right? Okay, so as always, we've got a lot of photographers that are tuning in from all over the world right now. I've got Scott in Arizona. I've got Nick in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Timber Geek in Connecticut. Chuck down in North Carolina. I've got Ken over in the UK. Mitch in Northern Ireland, John in the UK, Alvin down in Virginia, Mark up in Canada. It's awesome. So please, if you haven't done so already, check in, leave a comment, let me know you're here and where you are watching from. And of course, be sure to start posting your questions for tonight's open discussion. As always, I'll do my best to answer them all in the next 60 minutes. So we're going to start a new regular feature called In My Studio. Each In My Studio segment will be a 5 or 10 minute informative segment, sometimes a review, about a piece of gear that I use in my studio. Now there are plenty of YouTube channels that are doing reviews about gear, so don't worry, I am not going to be talking about cameras and lenses. I'll leave that to the pros. My goal is to let you know about pieces of gear that will help you in your day-to-day efforts to improve your photography. Now, full disclosure, I am from time to time going to show you products that were sent to me for free by the manufacturer or by a retailer. You have my word that I will always let you know if that's the case, and even more importantly, understand that I will never show or recommend a piece of gear that I wouldn't purchase with my own money. So if I'm showing it to you, even if it was given to me, I am using it in my studio as part of my workflow. So this week's In My Studio features two extremely affordable studio strobes from Godox that I find a lot of photographers don't know about. Now certainly when we think of Godox flashes, we think of the AD200 Pocket flashes and the AD400 and the AD600 studio strobes that all run on lithium batteries. Now, we know that Godox has a series of speed lights, but they also have a set of AC-powered studio strobes, the MS series compact studio flashes. Now, Godox actually has 18 different lines of studio strobes, but I wanted to show you these two because of their price and their compatibility with the Godox X series triggers that are used by the popular AD200, 400, and 600 strobes, as well as the Godox speed lights. So I'm referring to the Godox MS200 and the MS300. Now, these two strobes were sent to me by pergear.com, and they've quickly become a staple in my studio and my workflow. You can find the links in the description below this video. These strobes rock it old school with lots of modern features, and that's what I love about them once you see the price. Now they are AC powered, which means you're not going to take them out on location unless you have a power source available. You're going to plug it in right in the back here. In fact, give you guys a quick look at the back panel there really quick, but we're going to come back to that. The great thing is they come with a super long AC cord. So even for indoors in the studio, great cord, great length, really awesome to be able to maneuver around with these things. So the MS200, which I have here in my hand, this is a compact 200 watt second studio strobe. And when I say compact, you can see the size of this thing, all right? It's not that big. Both of these units weigh just over 2.5 pounds. So this MS200 is at 200 watt seconds. The MS300, which by the way, same size. The MS300, it's the same build, same control panel on the back, but it has 300 watt seconds of output. They both feature a Bowens mount on the front, which means that you can attach pretty much every major brand of softbox, beauty dish, modifiers, you name it, reflectors, the whole bit, okay? And of course, they use the Godox 2.4 gigahertz wireless X system. It's built in, so you can fire them with your existing Godox triggers. Now, the power on these things is dialed down by a round knob. You do have a digital readout. It can be adjusted anywhere from full power all the way down to 1/32nd power with 50 steps of adjustment in between. Not bad. All right, let's try that again. YouTube is not happy tonight, so hopefully we're not going to keep getting bounced out here. Everything on my end is telling me that I've got great connectivity, but I am seeing some issues with YouTube. So hopefully, I see you guys got your messages about buffering. You should see me coming back now. So let's give this a try. So basically, 200 watt seconds, 300 watt seconds. They dial all the way down to 1/32nd power. Unlike the 200, 400, and 600s, they don't go down to 1/64th or less. But like I said earlier, I don't know if you guys heard it before the buffering started. I don't really see that as being a negative because keep in mind, we're only 200 or 300 watt seconds. So these aren't super powerful strobes. These are great strobes for portrait work, which is what I use them for. So both the units come with a 150 watt tungsten powered modeling light and feature recycle times of 0.1 to 1.8 seconds, depending of course on the power settings. The more powerful the setting, the slightly longer the recycle time is going to be, but 1.8 seconds is crazy fast and awesome to work with in just about any situation, okay? Flash durations are a very respectable 1/2000th to 1/800th of a second. Low power is going to be the faster at 1/2000th. Full power, 1/800th of a second, which is more than enough to stop action unless you're doing specialized shooting like, water drops, balloons, that kind of stuff. Now, I have left out the best part until last. It's the price, in addition to all of those features. The MS200, it's currently selling for $95. There are links, and they are Amazon affiliate links in the description below the video. $95, and that includes a 7-inch reflector, the AC power cord that I showed you, and a set of stretch over colored gels. The MS300 is currently selling for $109. It also includes the reflector, the AC power cord, and the colored gels. So for $14 more, you can get an extra 100 watt seconds and have more than enough light for shooting great portraits and beauty shots. Now, I have the links in the description below, and I'm also going to share with you a link so that you get used to this new feature of TogChat. Every week when I do these little in my studio sessions, you will also be able to visit my website and check out a blog article that features what I am referring to. So I'm going to switch over and I'm going to show you theirs from the homepage, how you can get to it. And if you would like some more of the specs on these units, visit my website, check out this article. And if you scroll down, you'll be able to find the detailed specification breakdowns for both the MS200 and the MS300. All of the details are right there. So each week I will provide you with a link so that you have all of those details. Okay? So that being said, you already know that I'm a fan of Godox. I own quite a few of the AD200s and the AD400s, as well as some of their speedlights. And you also know that I'm a bit of a geek when it comes to light, because honestly, you can never have too many lights to work with as long as you understand what you're doing with them. So at $100, these two make a great addition to my arsenal. And for a photographer that is looking to start working with lighting and wants to kind of ease into it without breaking the bank, these two strobes are a great starting point because they're affordable, yet they are full featured, and they are fully interchangeable with all the Godox strobes that use the X system triggers. which means that you can use them as an entry point into the Godox system and then grow from there without having to worry about them, being completely obsolete if you want to go to a bigger, more powerful flash, or if you want to go to the lithium batteries, etc. These will still remain a workable part of your system. So just like the other Godox strobes, they do have kind of the heavy duty plastic. It's not a metal casing, but that's also part of what keeps them light. Remember, these are only 2.5 pounds each. Nice small size. They do come with a protective cover for storage and for travel. You've got the handle on the back to grab it. You've got a standard yoke, which will also handle an umbrella that mounts on the bottom. You've got the ratchet handle, which can be loosened to let you work in any tight spaces. And then on the back, you've got a digital LED readout there. You've got your power adjustments there, your channel settings, sound settings, monitor light settings, test fire button, the ability to do firmware updates, fuse replacements, power switch, everything. So really quite nice, extremely affordable, and that's really why I wanted to show them to you guys. The kind of equipment that I am intending to put most of my effort into to show you off in my studio is going to be grip gear. It's going to be the kinds of stuff that you may have never heard of before. But every now and then a piece of gear comes along like these that is an incredible price. It's extremely versatile. And I don't care if you're really, really experienced and you've got a full lighting setup and a full system, but you would just love to be able to add maybe 1 or 2 more lights for those occasional situations. Or if you're a beginner who is looking to get started on a system and isn't at a point where you can justify the cost or afford the cost of an AD400 or an AD600 or even the little AD200 Pocket flashes, here you go. It's a great way to get started. It's a great way to start building out your lighting system and doing it in a very, very affordable way. Okay? All right, so let's move on. Why don't we do that? Do a little business, and then we'll get to our Q&A really quick, okay? So first of all, welcome to the first episode of the new and improved TogChat Live. That's right, I said first episode. Why? Well, there are 180 episodes so far on YouTube, but tonight I'm beginning some new features, a slightly different format, and this is episode number 1 of the Photography Podcast. Yes, many of you have been asking for it, and here it is. The TogChat Photography Podcast, which is being recorded live during the YouTube live stream, and it will also feature additional photo news that is only available on the podcast each week. The podcast will go live every Friday, and you'll be able to get it at all of the regular places, including iTunes and Spotify. Now, be forewarned, iTunes is not live yet. They take a little bit longer to catch up to everybody. The Spotify link is set up, so this one will be available on Spotify as soon as it is posted. There is TogChat, I believe 178 is the one that I use just to get everything set up. So if you want to go and bookmark everything, you can do that. Also, I'm going to give you this link right here, okay? It's tog.chat/podcast. Bookmark that link. If you go to that page on my website, you can listen to the TogChats and download them from there. You can also find all the links for iTunes, Spotify. Well, again, iTunes isn't there yet. It'll be there soon. But for Spotify, Google, there's a whole bunch of them that are there. And also, if you want to be able to have it feed into your RSS feed, you can get all of that information there. Okay? So that is the big announcement for tonight is the beginning of the podcast. It's here, and we're going to get started. But I also, while we're at it, I want to take a moment and just bring you guys up to date on my speaking calendar, because I do have one more talk scheduled for this year. So if you haven't bookmarked this link already, all of my speaking engagements, you'll be able to find them at the link that I just posted in the chat window there. And Thursday, December 12th, so this is next Thursday evening. And I'm actually really excited about this one for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's in my backyard. This talk is taking place in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania at the very well-known Banana Factory. This is for the Lehigh Valley Photography Club, which is my local camera club. So I'm very excited to do this. And I'm doing a talk which I first did this past summer out in Cleveland, Ohio at Pixel Photo Fest. And it's called Don't Be Afraid to Suck if you want to find success as a photographer. So it's not your normal photo talk. I'm not going to teach anybody how to do portraits, no camera stuff. It is a little bit of a cross between a motivational talk and kind of a kick in the you-know-what to get you to pick up that camera and to teach you that it is okay to fail, and it's even more important to have fun and, of course, practice and follow your passion, okay? Also, at this particular event, and this is where if you're local to the Lehigh Valley, and that means, even if you're in Philly or New York, you're within easy travel distance. I would love to have you here. First of all, the folks at the Lehigh Valley Camera Club have been kind enough to waive the admission fee for my talk. So if you come, normally, if you're not a member of the club, it's a $10 fee to attend one of their speakers because they bring in a lot of really great speakers to this club. But my talk is free. It's open to the public. We need to get as many people there as possible because I've given myself a creative challenge for this talk. So when I finish the talk, a lot of you watched the live composite shot that I did at the end of my talk at Photo Plus in New York. I'm going to do something similar to that, but hopefully with a couple hundred photographers in the room. And I thought it would be cool to create a really neat image that could be used either as a timeline cover or possibly for the top of the website for the Lehigh Valley Photography Club. So I've self-assigned this, and I am going to get as many people involved as possible, and we're going to see if we can make it work. So hopefully you'll be there to collaborate with me, and we'll see if we can't make this epic in the process, okay? All right, so let's get to the question and answer stuff. I see that we got some really good questions coming in, and I also see that I've got like 4 questions that came in early. So I'm going to go ahead and hit those early ones first. Keep typing your questions. I will do my best to make sure that I get all of them in before we finish up here at 7 p.m. I know it's a lot later for some of you, but 7 p.m. where I'm at, okay? So the first question that I had come in off of Facebook, and by the way, every week when I do TogChat, I post in the middle of the day notices about what's happening with TogChat and that type of thing, and I give people the opportunity to go ahead and post questions in advance. So one of the ways to make sure that your questions get answered first, make sure you follow me on Facebook, which the links are underneath this video, or of course make sure that you're a member of my TogChat Facebook group, which is also linked underneath this video, and that way you'll get advance notice and you'll have the ability to go ahead and get your questions in there early. So this question comes in from John Cumber. I am unable to get out much due to health problems. Sorry to hear that, John. I've been trying some tabletop photography. I use LED table lamps for lighting, flexible with power adjustment. When shooting glass subjects, would tracing paper be suitable to soften the light on the glass if it's placed between the light and the subject? Do you have any suggestions for something better? So certainly, John, in lieu of being able to purchase a softbox, or for that matter, depending on your health issues, it may be a problem for you to even handle a softbox. Tracing paper actually would work great. It's very diffuse. Obviously, the bigger that you can get it, the better. So probably a little bit of Google searching online. I'm sure that you would be able to, possibly find some rather large sheets of it. Depending upon your budget, you can get sheer, that's the word, sheer, the mouth isn't working here. You can get thin sheets of translucent plastic. They actually do get to be a little bit expensive, but that is an option. Depending on what you have available, and even if you have potentially the opportunity for someone to assist you, or if you have some additional light stands, that you're able to hang things from, you could actually use a white bed sheet as a diffuser, and it's going to be really, really big. Now, the problem you may run into with a white bed sheet is that your LED table lamps are probably not terribly bright, right? So, of course, keep in mind that pretty much anything that you put between the light and your subject is going to knock down the power of the light a little bit. Now, that's not necessarily bad, but when you're starting out with a low wattage light to begin with, that can be a little bit problematic. So honestly, I think you had the right idea. GNAP Studios just suggested cloth shower curtains, yeah, or even the plastic ones that are kind of diffuse. Almost anything that has some type of diffusion material to it is going to work really well. Understand that the more dense it is, the more light that it's going to reduce, which then could cause you problems in terms of how much light you have to work with. But if you've got a tripod, certainly you can put the camera on a tripod, go with a longer exposure. You know, that's an option there. But tracing paper, honestly, would work wonderful. Keep in mind, just like any other diffusion material, there's really, really thin tracing paper, which actually is not going to diffuse much. And then there's slightly thicker tracing paper, which definitely will diffuse a little bit better. Kid Allah here is suggesting even like Vaseline on plastic. So yeah, I mean, pretty much anything that you can think of that is going to create, you know, a way to kind of soften and spread that light more. So yeah, but those are some great suggestions, gang. I really love hearing people being creative with the solutions. So Eric, thank you so much for the super chat. I really, really appreciate the super chats. Eric said here, just to thank you, showing my support for all the work you're doing to get us information as photographers, honest info that teaches. Eric, thank you so much. Seriously, I mean, I really, really appreciate your support and all of you. I know, Steve, I see that you've got a post here, which again, I do really, really appreciate. For all you talks out there, I had a tech problem and Joe walked me through some problems. Went above and beyond where he should have. He doesn't owe me anything yet. He helped. He's truly passionate about helping and educating. Hopefully, Steve, you got that worked out. I am curious to know whether or not you got those strobes working. But Steve is a member of my mentoring program. So for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, I have a program where you basically can have me as your mentor and have the ability to message me when you have questions or problems that you're trying to solve. I just put the link in the chat window there. Steve was working on an issue trying to get some studio strobes that he got from another photographer, a little bit older, trying to get them to fire. And I realized it was not going to be practical through messaging back and forth to really try and solve that issue. So I told him, it's like, call me, let's see if we can work through this. So unfortunately, we didn't actually get it completely worked out while he was on the phone, but hopefully he's gotten it worked out since. Okay. All right. So next question I have here comes from Dominic. What makes a good lighting setup? And also, what makes a good portrait? Wow. Okay. There are a huge amount of opinions out there, and personally, I'm getting so confused. Dominic, there are days where I'm really confused, but let's try and take your question in two halves, since you kind of asked, what's a good lighting setup and what makes a good portrait. So let's do the portrait thing first, because to me, the way I prioritize things, deciding what makes a portrait good is going to make it a lot easier for you to decide if the lighting is good. Now, the reason I explain it that way, and I talk about this a fair amount, when somebody comes to you, and folks, this applies to all of you, I don't care how experienced you are, this is something that too many photographers don't pay attention to. When someone comes to you and says, hey, I would like you to shoot a portrait for me, the first question that you should ask, the most important question that you should ask is why? Why do you need the portrait? The reason you need to ask that question is because the answer to that question, it provides the guidelines for every decision that you are going to make as you move forward to create that portrait. Meaning, If someone says to you, I want a portrait to hang above my fireplace in my living room, cool. That is going to be a very different portrait than if they say to you, I want a shot that's really cool and creative to put on my Instagram profile. And that's going to be really different than if they say to you, I need a photograph so that I can put it on my resume and on my LinkedIn page to start job hunting. All of those examples, and those are just 3 examples of why someone might need a portrait, but each one of those examples requires a very different approach, different lighting, different backgrounds, different kind of personality, even different cropping and compositions, right? So what makes a good portrait, Dominic, is an image that allows us to learn something. And by the way, this is my opinion. There is no end-all definition of what makes a good portrait. Let's be very clear about that. You could probably Google for the next 6 hours and come up with answer after answer after answer about that and be even more confused than you already are, right? So, in my opinion, a good portrait is a portrait that shares with us a little bit of that person's personality. For me, I like to feel that when I view that portrait, I am having a little bit of a connection with that person. You guys know I like to do a lot of eye contact. So that, for me, that's important. So that's the first piece. The second piece is, does the portrait achieve its goal? So as an example, if I've got a gentleman who is in his 30s, actually, let's go early 30s, late 20s. So we'll go age 29. How's that? So a young man comes to me, he's 29 years old and says, listen, I need a business portrait. I'm trying to get a job at a higher pay grade than what I'm at. The kind of job that I would be going for, would be wearing suit and tie. I need to look like I have a little bit of experience. Now, think about that. What does that mean to look like I have a little bit of experience, right? Because we're not going to make the guy's hair gray. We're not going to try and make him look older, but we also don't want to make him look like a kid right out of school. So, of course, we're going to put him in a suit, but we also want to make him look confident, right? We want to make him look strong. And I don't mean, this kind of strong. I just mean strong and powerful in the sense that he looks like someone who could handle the challenges that are ahead. So there's a little bit of a story that we need to tell that maybe is not his true personality, but it is the personality that he wants to project. So, Dominic, all of those things are the deciding pieces in what makes a good portrait. And then, of course, at the end of it all, does your subject like it? If your subject likes it and is happy with it, and they feel that it has accomplished what they need, poof, good portrait. With regards to lighting, for me, it has to be flattering, right? If it's a portrait, it has to be flattering. Now, flattering can be dramatic, right? There could be heavy shadows, and it could still be flattering. But I'm the kind of portrait photographer that my portraits are usually meant to be flattering, period, across the board. So it's got to be flattering. I don't like shadows that draw attention in a bad way. If a shadow is there to create some mood, to create some depth, to create impact, cool. I'm all for that. But for most portraits, Dominic, I like to keep my lighting simple. 1, 2, maybe 3 lights at most. Check out some of my videos. I got a whole bunch of videos where, I show off a lot of my portrait lighting setups and that type of stuff. So, I would start there. And also, before I forget, I don't know if Marcus is here tonight, but Marcus had been asking me for a while to show him the interior setup of my new Pelican case. And last week I showed you guys which Pelican case that I'm using. So, and for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, this is the video that got this conversation started here. It's the 15 tips for flying with camera gear. I'm going to go ahead and I will put the link to that video in the chat window there. But what I want to show you guys is I told you guys last week that pretty much all the gear that you see in the Pelican case in the video is what I'm carrying in this new Pelican Air case. But I did want to share a couple little updates that aren't in the video. So number one, this is the Pelican Air case. You'll notice that I've added the blue electrical tape. just to simply, help it stand out a little bit, but also the orange TSA locks, and of course use TSA locks, otherwise you're just going to cut them off if they want to get into your case. But also importantly, and there's a little trick here that I probably shouldn't admit to, but I use orange luggage tags. Now, I don't know about Delta and United Airlines, but I generally fly on American Airlines. And American Airlines, if you are a first class passenger, which I almost never fly first class, I just can't justify the cost. But if you are a first class passenger, they put an orange priority tag in your luggage tag. And what is supposed to happen is when you get to baggage claim, you are supposed to receive your bag first. So I thought when I bought my new luggage tags, ooh, let me get orange. And, those luggage people, they're busy and they're shoveling luggage all the time. They may not notice. And indeed, frequently, my cases will come off first with the first class priority luggage because indeed, when they were tossing them on the plane, they saw those orange tags and didn't really pay attention to the fact that it wasn't an actual priority tag. So it's actually paid off for me a couple of times. Inside, this is what the Pelican Air case looks like. So you can watch the video to see the old 1650 case. I've got 4 Godox AD200s in here, Fresnel heads for them. There are 4 light stands in there that I have underneath the umbrellas. These are the portable light stands that fold up to 19.5 inches tall. Also, at the end, I have 2 of the think tank cases with my tether cords. The other case that you see there that is still in the case at the moment carries additional Godox X triggers because when I travel, if I'm doing workshop stuff, I have to take triggers for all of the different camera brands. So that's the inside, the interior of the new case, for those of you that were wondering about that, because I did mention it last week and I promised I would show it this week. So Marcus, hopefully you're here, but if not, I'm sure you'll catch up. There's the rest of the images that you were looking for. So question here from Adam came in earlier also. I started playing with Capture 120, which I have not actually downloaded yet. Am I correct that you, Joe, use the software? I used to. I don't anymore. If you do you have any insights as to why it seems to have an initially better representation of images after import other than his own personal preference and liking it as something new and shiny? He's had the general impressions before that the initial import looks better from Olympus RAWs and results in needing fewer tweaks by him. Adam, I can't speak to that specifically. I can tell you that in my experience with Capture One, which I've talked about many times, great software, excellent raw processor. I would not in any way, shape, or form say that I feel it makes my images look better. In other words, kind of right out of the camera. No, I don't think that's the case. Obviously, it's more powerful in terms of what you can do with skin tones and skin blending. But I will tell you, in my experience, part of the reason why I haven't upgraded and I don't pay for the subscription on Capture One anymore, since switching to Olympus, I find myself having to do less and less and less retouching. So I'm not as worried and I'm not having as many issues with the skin blending and that type of stuff. So does that make it bad? No, it doesn't make it bad, but is it better? No. My sincere advice, Adam, would be if you are enjoying what you're getting out of it, run with it. Don't change. Don't let anybody tell you that you're wrong, right? The perception that counts is your perception. I would encourage you, of course, if you're going to, really delve into the Capture One world, understand the software has ultimately got a pretty big learning curve. So if you're really going to get the maximum bang out of that software, take the time to do the learning. Make sure that they have a lot of great tutorials and videos available. Watch them, go through all of them. It's really, really important. But if you're liking what you're seeing, go for it. There's no reason for you to not do that. Okay. All right. The last question I had here that came in early, and then we'll dive into the chat. This came from Samuel. I'd like to hear about your experience with using manual focus lenses and which tips and advice you can give, particularly in light of the modern cameras versus how did you do it back in the days? Would or do you ever use manual focus today? He says he's using manual focus more and more, feeling that it forces him to slow down and think more about the photo that he's about to take. So obviously I learned on manual focus lenses because I'm that old. In fact, when I started photography, there was no such thing as autofocus. So even when I started shooting sports, I had to learn how to shoot sports with manual focus lenses. I've told you guys numerous times about coming home from school and practicing by doing follow focus on cars and then shooting roll of film. So would I or do I ever do manual focus today, Samuel? No way in hell. For several reasons. First and most important reason, right here. My eyes just are not what they used to be. If I was photographing an inanimate object, I certainly could go ahead and do manual focus, but it's a slow process and it's not fast. If I was photographing a person that's moving or any kind of fast action, I would fail. I would fail miserably. So that's the number one reason. The number two reason why it doesn't bother me, the autofocus capabilities of our cameras today is actually better and more accurate than our eyes and our brains. It just is, right? So, if you're going to deal with any kind of action at all, as a human, you're not going to better what the camera does. You're just not. So, to me, there's no reason to use manual focus. And I know it's really popular. There's these companies that have the really cheap manual focus lenses. And I know, a lot of the guys that are really into gear love to put manual focus, like vintage lenses on. I respect that, but that's not photography for me. Photography for me is not about the toys, right? I love the toys, but not for the sake of having the toys. I love the toys that are solving a problem for me. A manual focus lens does not solve a problem for me. A manual focus lens does not make my life easier or more efficient. A manual focus lens presents me with problems. A manual focus lens slows things down and reduces my efficiency. So that being said, Samuel, if you are finding that it's helping you to be more deliberate and to slow down, then awesome. Like, go for it. But certainly you will find circumstances where you're just not going to be able to keep up with a manual focus lens the way you can with built-in autofocus. Just not going to happen. So, all right. So let me slide on back here into the chat window. I want to go back to the beginning. And we still got like a good 20 minutes, gang. So I know there's some questions in here, but if you have more questions, start typing, okay? Let's see. And, interestingly enough, I posted the notice about this video today and find out that quite a few people that follow me and who watch TogChat here have actually just picked up these strobes in the last couple of weeks. And I have some comments here from people that, were interested in them. So I have a feeling that, Godox is going to be selling quite a few of these along the way. They're great price, great way to kind of get started. Okay. All right. So there's Charlie, just bought 2 of the MS300s, really happy with them. Let's see. And Nick, did you decide we can't have nice things? I see you back in the chat window, slow mode. Yeah, I did slow it down just a little bit, Nick. Sorry. And it's not so much that anybody's been abusing it lately. So to be fair, it's actually just a little bit easier for me to kind of keep up with what's going along so that I don't miss things. I'm really, really pleased and proud to say that my audience has grown and is definitely a lot more adult-like than it was in the early days of TogChat. So yeah, every now and then we get a bad egg that, comes in for a little while, but for the most part, everybody's very respectful. It's just really, it's easier for me to be able to keep up and kind of have a sense of what's going on. And if I need to, to talk to anyone while I'm discussing something. Okay. All right. So, let's see here. Web Surfer. This was a question about the Godox strobes. Can they be triggered by other strobes flash? Yes, and I should have mentioned that. They do have optical triggers built in, so that is an option, okay? Scrolling all down here. Damaris, the only thing is that the modeling lamp is too long for my 10 by 24 inch softbox. I had to outsource a shorter bulb from Home Depot. That's interesting. So I could imagine, because the buff lights have the long tubes like this also. So I could completely imagine that there are some softboxes where that will become a problem. I do say congratulations that you were smart enough to go to Home Depot and solve the problem of finding a different bulb. It's basically just a tungsten bulb. So yes, I mean, with that longer bulb, that is certainly a possibility. But as you just explained, you can solve it that way. Cooley, these are not battery powered. They are strictly AC powered. So certainly you could use an external battery pack like the one that Paul Buff has, or the one that Photogenic makes. Those are two companies that have the lithium battery packs that are externals, which is a lot of work. My honest, sincere advice, I'm showing these to you guys. I had never heard of these. The folks at PerGear, one of the things that's kind of crazy about this YouTube stuff, and I'm not bragging because I really try to avoid it, but on an average week, I get about 30 to 50 inquiries from Chinese companies. Like, we want to send you this. Today, I had 2 companies want to send me athletic wear if I talk about it on YouTube, right? Because that fits my channel. So if you see me wearing athletic wear next week, you'll know that I took them up on their deal, right? But we get this stuff all the time. So this company, PerGear, reached out to me. They're a Chinese company. And they said, hey, we'd love to send you these Godox Strobes. We see you're using Godox. You seem to like it. These are AC powered. Are you interested? And I'm like, I didn't even know that Godox had AC powered strobes. And then, of course, when I started researching, I found out they have like 18 different versions of, AC powered strobes, all with, different feature sets, etc. So I saw the price on these. And I thought, okay, at that price, let's take a look at them, because these could be potentially a really good entry-level flash. And I won't lie. I mean, I am one of those people where, every now and then I'll come up with some crazy idea. And ideally, I'd love to have like a dozen strobes to make the shot work. So being able to pick up a couple of these at like $100, and I will in all likelihood order another 1 or 2 of the 200s. I don't really need the 300s. I just don't. For this situation that I would use them in. But there's a very good likelihood I'll order 1 or 2 of the 200s just to have them sitting on a shelf for those occasional times where I just need a little bit of extra light and I want it all to synchronize. I want it all to kick in. So yeah, I mean, that's really why I kind of wanted to dig in with these and show them to you guys, because I think they are definitely, a good opportunity for people in multiple situations. Okay. Let's see here. Frank, is there an MS series wireless in the future with an affordable price? I mean, I don't know. So let me be really clear. I don't have any inside knowledge to what Godox is doing. I will tell you, full disclosure, about 1.5 years ago, one of my contacts in the photo industry put me in touch with the marketing team at Godox in China, and they basically very politely ignored everything. And if you notice, they don't sponsor anybody. They do no advertising. What Godox has done, they've done brilliantly. They simply build a great product at a very reasonable price. Done. That's it. Okay. So I have no connections and no inside information. If I was strictly going to speculate, Frank, I would say probably not, because the AD series is really that. I will tell you that if you go to godox.com, click on the products link and look at their strobe series, they do have other series of studio strobes that are wireless, that do have the lithium batteries, do have the X series built in. They have some that are lithium and AC. So I don't understand why they have 18 different series of strobes. And this is just the studio strobes, right? So this is leaving out speed lights and all that kind of stuff. But they've got a lot. So I can't see why they would turn around and make a wireless version of this, but anything's possible, right? So let's see. Scrolling on down here. Nick. He has a pair of the 300s. The price is unbeatable. Yep. Have you ever considered replacing the red hot incandescent modeling lamp with an LED version? Was sure, but there's two aspects there. Number one, you need to find one that fits, and I'm sure there probably is. Number two, in all likelihood, in today's marketplace, you're not going to find an LED bulb that's going to give you 150 watts of output that will fit in that space that we're dealing with right there, okay? And these are, by the way, these are just, regular Edison sockets is what the base is there. So that's basically, there's the, the full size of the bulb, okay? So, I mean, yeah, Nick, I mean, that's certainly something that is worth, I guess, looking for and keeping an eye out. When I used to use the alien bees, I had no problem with the modeling lights. I mean, sure, they put out some heat, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, it's not like, oh my God, deathly hot, unless you go to, grab the bulb, which it shouldn't be anyway. And by the way, gang, what you just saw me do is actually something you shouldn't do. So now that I did it, let me rewind that. Finger grease. Do not get it on the flash tube. And honestly, you should not put it on the bulb. I will when we're done, because I have no tissues handy. I will grab a tissue. I will wipe that bulb down really, really good before I put it in. Finger grease, when these bulbs heat up and warm up, can cause the bulbs to break. So anytime you're changing bulbs like that, it's something where it gets really, really hot, don't touch the bulb. No finger grease, okay? Use a tissue or a paper towel when you put it in, put it out, that type of thing. So unfortunately, yes, what you just saw me do was set a very, very bad example. So that's why I'm telling you about it. You ultimately should not do that, okay? Photography and development. Does Adorama already have these in their Flashpoint Godox line? Truthfully, I don't know. And that's a question I should have been smart enough to look up in advance. I'm sorry, I really don't know, okay? So let's see here. Chuck, when you start your videos again, will you be doing the segments where you post-process an image that someone sends to you? Chuck, I would love to. If you have one, man, send it. You know how to get a hold of me. I actually really enjoyed doing those. It was called Images Reimagined. There's a bunch of them in my older videos, folks. So the problem that I ran into, Chuck, when I started advertising to people, hey, like I've got this feature and I want to do this, I was getting lots of really, really bad pictures that people were sending me hoping I was going to fix it. The goal is not to fix it. So it's not one of those things where every image that somebody has works, right? The goal is that somebody shows me an image and I look at it and I realize, wow, if they had done this or this or this, strictly my opinion, in other words, my visualization of their image, if they had done this, this, and this, could I change the image in what I feel is a positive way? Not necessarily that they're going to like it more. So it's not about better or worse. It's about different. Unfortunately, pretty much everything that was being sent to me was literally like just pictures that never should have seen the light of day, where people were kind of hoping, well, gee, I wonder if you can fix it. And so the whole idea behind that video series was really never about teaching Photoshop. Yes, there was some Photoshop education in it, but it was really about teaching people about the creative possibilities behind their own images, to encourage them to kind of think beyond what is right in front of them. So Chuck, if you have an image that you would love to see me do, you know how to get a hold of me, man. I would love to see it. Rob, you're going to be at the Banana Factory next week. That's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing you. It's a really, really fun talk. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a talk that I really have a lot of fun doing. So, all right. So from Brett here, his question is, what material do you recommend using if I'm going to make some of my own backdrops? I plan on going to the fabric store soon. Well, Brett, it just so happens I have a video all about that. So hang on one second here, and I'm going to find you both the video and the link. So bear with me. And whoops, we don't want that. Sorry, let me just grab the link here. Okay. So this video is, I'm putting the link here in the chat window right now. It's about how to build your own DIY background stand, but it also talks about how to create your own backgrounds from material. The short answer, Brett, it's a crushed velour. Now, in theory, you could use almost any kind of material depending on what you want for the background. But if you check out that video, I just put the link in the chat window, you'll be able to see the stuff that I use that I really like, okay? All right, let's see. We did Steve's before, scrolling on down here. Let's see. Question from Aberug, and this is one, I'm not sure about, but let's see here. His question is, could the Godox be fired with any trigger that's 2.4 gigahertz, for instance, a Cactus V62? You know what? I really don't know. I'm sorry. So for any of you that are watching / listening, if you're here live, do me a favor. If you've actually triggered the Godox Strobes with another brand trigger, please let us know. No guessing, please. Guessing doesn't really help because we can go research it elsewhere. But or if you're listening on the podcast later or watching the video later, please go ahead and comment in the comments section to let us know. Chuck, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Abrug, I'm sorry. I don't know if that's a possibility. Okay. Optimistically, I'm going to say that I hope it is, but I don't know. Okay. Let's see here. VGM Lucifer. Okay. Hey, Joe, a week ago, I snagged both the Panny G85 and the GX85, both with 2 kit lenses. I had my eyes on either the Panny 42.5 Leica 1.2 or the Olympus Msweco 45mm f1.2 used. Okay, that's a statement. I'm sorry. If you're kind of asking me which I like between the two, VGM Lucifer, full disclosure, I'm an Olympus ambassador. So my answer, of course, is going to be the Olympus, the 45mm f1.2. But I will tell you sincerely, period, I would still go, even if I had not become an ambassador, I would still go with the Olympus. Hands down, I will take the sharpness and the clarity and everything else about the Olympus lenses over Panasonic or any other brand any day. I just will. That's not because I'm a visionary. I was saying that. You can go back in my TogChats. I was making that comment long before I became an Olympus visionary. So, yeah. So if it's between the two, that would definitely have been my choice. Okay. And gosh, I got another super chat here. Kate Alla, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. I'd love for you to do a tutorial on what each modifier does and why you use it. Will you please do one with comparisons? So here's the deal. Now that I put that up there, somebody's going to jump all over and say, he said he was going to do that like a year ago, and he never did it. Short answer is yes, but it's not going to be what you want. So here's the challenge. I started it. And I went back and I restarted it. And I restarted it. And I restarted it. And then I developed a whole workshop that I've done in several places across the country this past year, which was kind of a masterclass about modifiers and how to use them. The problem with me doing modifier comparisons for you is that it is actually not going to help you. It's really not. I could take, and I've done this in videos that are on my channel now. I can take a 32-inch shoot-through umbrella. The one that I used in the video sold for $6 on clearance at photoflex.com. And I can create light that looks exactly like it was done with a beauty dish using a $6 umbrella compared to something that usually sells for well over $100, oftentimes over $200, right? There are more lighting things in the works to try and give you a better understanding. But honestly, one of the things that was kind of part of my stepping back from videos this past year, other than, whoops, that's not cool. Bear with me 1 second, folks. I have a feeling. There you go. We have ghosts, okay? I'm not even going to try and explain what that was. Anyway, part of what I learned by stepping back, which is why I'm really glad I did it, is that a lot of the information that I was putting into the videos and the way that I was approaching a lot of these videos was actually encouraging some of you to be really lazy. And what I mean by that is literally just a matter of not forcing you and not giving you the opportunity to really think things through. So the comparison thing is honestly a great example. The problem that we have, and part of the reason why, Kate, that modifiers can be so confusing to people is because there's so many of them. The reason there's so many of them is that once you purchase a modifier, unless you abuse it, most modifiers will last you for 10, 20 years. Literally. Soft boxes, all that kind of stuff. I have soft boxes that are 25 years old and they're still in great shape. They still work wonderfully, right? But for the companies that make them, they need us to buy soft boxes. They need us to buy umbrellas. They need us to buy beauty dishes, because if we don't, they don't make a profit. They go out of business. That's not cool, right? So, so that's kind of the challenge with why they also wind up becoming so confusing, because there's so many. So I'm going to take a very different approach to talking about them to try and help you all out. But yes, there will be some stuff coming. Okay. Back to VGM Lucifer, talking about that. Ken. Yeah. All right, we're back. Let's try this one more time. Okay. D Psycho, you joined, you broke it. Yes, you did. Okay. So I'll stay in here a couple extra minutes since we just had that issue there. But I know I had like one or two more questions here. There we go. Good. You guys are seeing it now. I know there's one or two more questions that I didn't get to answer. Dr. Pixels, how different are the ones you're talking about today from the Flashpoint Studio 300 Monolite with a built-in R2 radio? A lot different. Those are much bigger, number one. They're much heavier. They're metal cases. I used to have a couple of those. And the recycle time's much slower. Also, they don't cool as well, meaning you get like 5, 6, or 7 pops in a row, and then oftentimes it's going to slow down. So you have to basically let it cool down at that point. So while they are very inexpensive, I'm not a big fan of those. Frankie, do you teach videography? I don't, Frankie. You know, I'm not actually a big video guy other than the fact that I do YouTube. My video stuff is as simple as can be. So I don't really feel that I would, you know, be the right person to teach that. So FN89, one of my favorite usernames. Have you shot any basketball games with the EM1 Mark II? I have a game this coming weekend and wanted to know if you have any tips. I have not shot any basketball games yet, but some of the tips that I will tell you, number one, turn your record view off, set it to 0. Okay, that's going to allow, you know, the camera to keep you know, keep shooting at a rapid speed. If you have the record view set, the camera's going to want to show you images in between, and that interferes with your rapid fire shooting. Beyond that, you know, if you're shooting natural light of the game, expose for the shadows, because the players tend to look down. Now, depending on the court and the court color, you know, you can get you know, some nice kickback off the court with the lighting. But other than that, the big thing is have fun. Okay, you know, you're going to raise your ISO. That's okay. It'll be fine. The world won't end. Yeah. So to this point, the only sports I've done with the Olympus gear, both the EM1 Mark II and the EM1 X, is some football. Handled it great, enjoyed it, but I have not done any basketball yet. So, all right. So I think, let's see, Eric had a question here. Let's get this last question in. I got your question right now, Eric, okay? The MS lights, these, are they fan cooled? Yes, and if so, how loud are they? Is the modeling light strong enough to use for video? They're not super loud, but they do have a fan. So I don't know the exact decibel readings there, but basically what that means is you're not going to want it close to any microphone. You know, if you have it a distance away, you'd probably be fine. 150 watts, not really. I mean, you know, that's the challenge. 150 watts is not that bright, especially not if you're going to put it behind a softbox or, you know, any kind of diffusion. So that's going to be problematic there, right? So that being said, I don't know that I would, you know, purchase these for the idea of being able to do video. Keep in mind also, these are tungsten modeling lights. So depending on what your shooting situation is, then you get into all kinds of interesting scenarios with, you know, white balance and all that kind of stuff. So could you do it? Yeah, you could, but not really, you know, not really an ideal scenario. Okay. All right, gang. So time for me to wrap it up here. I apologize that we were having some YouTube issues tonight. The lighting thing, I'll tell you a true story. I have a bad Wemo switch. If you don't know what Wemo is, it's one of those wireless controlled light switches. And I just realized it was having issues this afternoon. And I thought, oh, it'll be okay because I moved it to a different outlet and it reconnected. But it decided to kick off in the middle of the show, just like randomly. So it's time to get rid of the Wemo switch. So anyway, that being said, you guys know the drill. If you are part of my mentoring group, I will be doing a Zoom chat Friday evening. Talk to you all then. For the rest of you, please get out, do some shooting. I hope if you are in the Lehigh Valley, Philadelphia, New York area, that I will get to see you next Thursday night at the Banana Factory in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania for the Lehigh Valley Photography Club meeting. And as always, gang, please remember these.
Thanks for watching another live episode of TogChat. Now, pick up that camera and shoot something because your best shot is your next shot. So keep learning, keep thinking, and keep shooting. Adios.